much for that. It's very, very kind. I got my timer going good. I've really enjoyed being with you guys this weekend at levels that I could never possibly tell you just meaningfully, because Niken for me is it's a very, very special thing, and I've got some frames of reference. We all have our own life's journey. For me, Niken has always been a very, really, really special thing since the minute that I saw it, and I thank God for it all the time. And it's really funny for me, Niken wasn't something I was looking for. Niken was something that kind of found me. And in my life, I very often, like probably a lot of you guys, ask God for a lot of stuff, and then I wonder why He doesn't give me what I want, when typically He gives me what I need. I don't know how many of you guys out there have ever found that when you look for what you want, you very seldom get it. It's when you try to be patient and look for what you need that you tend to get the greatest rewards in life. And Niken for me has always been that. I was asked to talk about the price of freedom. And that typically evokes a lot of emotions in people and evokes a lot of things. And then today, had several people ask me a couple questions. William brought something up this weekend. And what was the main question was, how do you break the terror barrier, right? How many of you guys would like to know the answer to that question?
Yes.
All right, we'll talk about that a little bit, because I know when he said that, that needed to be continued. So how many of you guys today, honestly, when William said that, honestly, were you guys thinking, okay, I know I need to do that? That's like telling, one-legged guy he needs to be quicker. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to do that. So I'll talk a little bit about that. But I really want to talk about the topic that I was assigned, which is the price of freedom. And that evokes a lot of things for me. And maybe I'll just try to share a little bit of it with you guys. First of all, when people talk about freedom and liberty, they're often very misunderstood. When they talk about liberty and freedom, I don't think 90% of people really understand the difference between them. And I'd like to kind of start there and talk about it. John Adams is actually one of my, obviously a lot of people's heroes, but when you actually listen to the words that they said and how revolutionary what they did was, I don't know if you guys really have ever thought this through, but for the entire history of the world, from the day that people started, there were very few people that ran everything, and everybody else had nothing. And there was this idea from time immemorial that I'm the king or I'm the queen because God made me the king or the queen. And because God made me the king or the queen, by definition, you're not the king or the queen. And that puts everybody else in the position of not questioning that authority. So you get to live in the palace and you get to have the things, and I get to live out here and have whatever scraps I have just because that's my place. And anybody that tried to argue that all throughout history, what's fascinating about this is nobody ever challenged the premise that if you kill a king and you're a rebel against an evil king, the guy or the gal that kills him off then wants to crown themselves what? King. So how many of you guys realize all throughout human history, 98% of our history, people were never free? The French are actually the people that started really thinking in the 1700s and 1800s. They actually had the initial thought of this thing called liberty. And liberty was this idea, wait a minute, you're the king, and I get that, but you're no better than I am. Why are you the king? And the only reason they had to be better than you, because otherwise they didn't have the power to take your life and take your goods and live in the big castle. And the thing I love most about this idea of liberty, and John Adams says it better than any other person in terms of liberty, and when he says it like this. He says, liberty is the notion that the lowest and most uneducated of the people has the same right to the air to breathe and the water to drink as the mightiest of nobles living in the mightiest of castles. That is liberty, and liberty will reign in America. That is the idea of liberty. However, most people think liberty and freedom are the same thing. And I want you all clearly to understand that they are absolutely not. Liberty is the idea that you have equal right to become something successful. You have equal right to air and water. You have equal right to live your dreams. Freedom is the exercising of it. All of you in this room have the liberty to go be what you want to be, but many of you are in bondage, not allowed to give you the right. And I'm going to demonstrate this throughout this, that our CEO and Ben and Jeff had the courage to write a compensation plan that was not written for the nobles. It was written for the liberty that all of you have an equal chance to become as unequal as possible without their wise training and their top, here's what you need to do, and oh, I need my big check. You guys just get by on trying to qualify. This company did something as absolutely revolutionary as Robespierre wrote it in France, or the patriots fought for in our revolution. And I want you all to understand that when that happened, the American Revolution, they tried it in France, it kind of fizzled, a lot of people died. They tried it in America. When they wrote the words, we believe that all people are endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights, what they were saying in that sentence was, it's not just you that have unalienable rights, King George, it is we that have them. And I reject the notion that only you have them. And this company just rejected the notion that only 44 people have them. And that's what I love about this company. I want you to understand, I get fired up about it. When those people decided to fight, those patriots, their lands, their titles, all the things that they had, and there are many diamonds in this room that have big checks and big downlines that have stuck by this company, that had an awful lot on the line with a change. To say, I've got a $30,000 a month check, and this change puts it in a little bit of temporary transition. You think John Adams, with his law practice and his farm outside Boston, while he's in Philadelphia at the Congress, and you may think Boston to Philly isn't that big of a ride, do it on a horse. And your family is sick and starving, and they got smallpox. How many of you know this about John Adams' family? While he was there, his wife was tending the farm. His children got smallpox. They were losing family members while these men stood there and fought for our country. The Continental Army let crops die in the fields while they stood barefoot against the mightiest army in the world, because they believed that people had liberty, but they did not win your freedom. They won your liberty. You think about how gutsy it took John Adams. You know John Hancock, with that great big name of the Declaration of Independence, had a massive sailing fleet. He was known for having a big fleet of ships that trade. Who was his biggest trading partner, by the way? England. You think it took a set of rocks for John Hancock to write his name 3 feet tall when the British had 800 ships? And he makes his money on the waves? My question to you is, when you're measured, are you found wanting, or are you found that you can stand the test of time? Like these diamonds and royal diamonds that are standing in here this weekend. And I'm going to talk about that as we go through this. Are you willing to sign John Hancock when you're a sailor, when the British crown has ships with guns on them?